20 years after the accident that claimed a young woman's life, there are now charges of a cover-up in a grand jury investigation of the Ted Kennedy tragedy. The foreman of the grand jury tells his version next. It is 20 years since the word Chappaquiddick crossed the lips of the world. The death of Mary Jo Kopechne begged for so much more of an answer, that's for sure. But now some of the missing pieces are before us, particularly what happened after the death was reported. A Current Affair is the only television show to have interviewed the foreman of the grand jury that was called to investigate.
This morning I entered a plea of guilty to the charge of leaving the scene of an accident.
It has been almost 20 years since Ted Kennedy appeared on television to explain the tragic death of Mary Jo Kopechne. Even he called his behavior afterward indefensible. For 7 days, reporters, investigators, the bereaved parents, and people around the world had waited for Kennedy, the only eyewitness to the accident, to answer the key questions. Why were Kennedy and Kopechne driving to a deserted beach in the opposite direction from the ferry? Why was Mary Jo left submerged for 9 hours, the accident going unreported? Why didn't Kennedy seek help at the dike house just 200 yards down the road, the same road he walked to go back to the cottage? These questions and many more were not fully answered in his statement. And the attempts to get at the answers through the investigation or through legal channels were blocked. Some believe the investigation itself was slipshod. To this day, much of the truth about Chappaquiddick remains a mystery. Now, after all this time, the foreman of the grand jury in the Chappaquiddick scandal says there was a cover-up. Leslie Leland claims that when he expressed interest in calling the grand jury together to investigate the accident, pressure was put on him to back off. Leland says that 2 Massachusetts lawmen called him and arranged a secret meeting.
I said, all right, well, where do you want to meet? He says, well, we'll meet up at the blinker light. So I said, fine. So I drove up there, got out of my car, and there's an unmarked car there. Walter Steele gets out of the passenger side, opens the back door, motions for me to get in. I get in the car. He closes the door, he hops in, and we go driving off the road, down the road. And they start talking to me to tell me there's, again, no reason for the grand jury to get involved. It was a simple accident, no big deal, don't get concerned. And this went on for an hour. I asked some questions and, you know, about charges, you know, if there are any drunk driving charges or whatever. And they said, no, it's just a simple motor vehicle accident, and it'll be all forgotten, and don't get involved, don't worry about it. So somebody had gotten to them, obviously, to try to get me to stop pushing for, you know, the grand jury perhaps to be involved.
With a potential grand jury investigation, which might have exposed all the apparent inconsistencies in Kennedy's story, the DA called for a closed-door inquest, an investigation that would have done less harm to the political aspirations of the senator.
Here's a senator who's aspiring to be a president, and we've got a situation that maybe they were having an affair, maybe they were just friends, whatever, but an accident happened. But how can we make him look good? The hell with the girl.
After 4 days of secret testimony, the inquest was closed and the transcripts impounded. Not satisfied that justice was being served, Leslie Leland asked the grand jury to investigate the case. But when Leland asked Judge Wilford Paquette for the inquest transcripts, he was told the jury could not see them.
I was shocked. I felt that and have since found out that the grand jury should have had the right of access to the transcript. Along that same line, we had wanted to bring in members of the party, Gargan, Markham, Kennedy, the girls, and we were told by the district attorney that we could not subpoena them.
Unable to function, the grand jury was dissolved. 2 weeks later, the inquest documents were released.
Judge Boyle issued these findings: that Kennedy and Kopechne did not intend to drive to the ferry slip, that it was probable Kennedy was aware of the Dyke Bridge hazard. There was probable cause to believe that Edward M. Kennedy had operated his vehicle negligently
and that such operation appears to have contributed to the death of Mary Jo Kopechne.
Kennedy's reaction: I reject these findings. Apparently, that rejection was sufficient to prevent the DA from taking the case any further. For all practical purposes, the case was closed. With very few exceptions, the wall of secrecy continues to stand around the death of Mary Jo Kopechne, leaving a bitter taste in the mouths of those who tried to do the right thing.
I've had a lot of mixed feelings about justice. Become very disillusioned with the judicial system. You know, I'd said it before, and it seemed like there's just two sets of rules. There's a set of rules for the wealthy, and there's a set for the regular people, and it's very disappointing.